Hi everyone, we are going to go ahead and get started for today's Create Live. My creatives, we are going to do the timeless greeting kit. This is what the first part of the directions look like when you receive your box after you open it. This is the box. I always put my sticker that's on the plastic on my box if I can. That way I remember what box is what when I've got several kits. So I've got all of my extra supplies in here. I've taken everything out that we need to create the card. So we have our card base, our background that goes with our card base, our glue dots, our sentimental piece that we're going to stamp, our globe, our other piece of the globe that we're going to stamp, our embellishments, ink, Stampin' Spot or ink dot, and then our two stamps. We're obviously not going to stamp them like this with how they're on, but just so I didn't lose them temporarily. So there are two designs in the Timeless Greeting Kit, and since I saw this kit launch, I fell in love with it. I think it's a great kit for any type of card. You need a go-to quick card that you can pull out and work on when you forgot whatever you need for that day. It's very muted and neutral tone, so it can be used for whoever. There's a thanks option, a happy birthday option, and there's actually 4 different card options here. The one we're doing today is you make the world a better place. But there are 4 different options really across the board that you can do. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. You open up the pamphlet and it shows you the 2 bases that come in the kit. Again, we're going to go with the one with the globe today. So we're going to work on number 1, and it seamlessly just walks you through the entire process. So I'm going to set this off to the side. I'm going to utilize it as we go throughout the process today. But it's a really great resource tool, and even if you're making a card in the future and you want just some ideas, this is a great base to go back to. It also, I've always thought this is really cool. There's a measuring tape on the one side. So there's inches here and then there's centimeters here. So the projects where there's ribbon, if you want to measure it to whatever the diameter is, you can do that. You could even line up your card to get a better idea of fitting stuff on it. So I just thought that is really cool. So number 1, it actually says we're going to stamp first, which makes a lot of sense. So the first thing it says to stamp is the globe. What I am going to do is I'm going to take my sentiment and the stamp that we're using today for that and just placing it there. There are 2 different sizes of the sentiment cards for this kit. So I do want to just make sure you're using the correct one because some stamps are larger and you don't want to run out of space. So I'm going to kind of push everything else off to the side and figure out how I want to stamp this today. I think like that. Yeah, just like that. And then I need to figure out, if you're using a glass mat, they're really great because you can kind of line up your stamp and it helps apply your stamp block and stamp also. I'm just trying to line this up the way it is showing in the instructions. And then, of course, when you've got your grid lines, because you're using a glass mat, I highly suggest trying to line up with that to make it as even as possible. And then your stamp block that comes in your kits, we're going to use that stamp block today. I give it a little pressure, make sure it's on there good, pull up carefully. It seems like it's stuck down there good. Okay, now the stamp spots, if you have other ones or different ink that you want to use, you can, but I love how curated these kits are with all of the colors, all the accent pieces that come with this. Sometimes you just have to remind the sticker that it has to let you use your ink pad. So we've got the lid off because this is a smaller ink spot, stamp spot. I always put my stamp down on the stamp block and then I just lightly tap. Stampin' Up's ink, you don't have to put a ton on it. There were some spots I did just want to go back and give it a little more. Now, I love good crisp colors on something like this. If you want a lighter color, you could blot this off even on your glass mat, but I'm not going to do that today. So I'm just taking a look and seeing how I want to line this up with the cardstock for the globe. And then just giving it a good pressure. Don't roll your stamp, hold it down flat and then pull up. And then this is sticking, which can happen. So I just lightly pull my cardstock against the stamp and now it looks perfect. I typically, to wipe these off, we have some cleaner. Typically, I'll just grab a towel nearby or use some gentle soap and water to finish that. But we're going to go ahead and pull our stamp off so we can do the next sentiment and push that little piece to the side. So I've got my sentiment rectangle ready. And then I love glass mats, especially when we're doing words. And these are very fine little words. I don't know if you can see those yet. But what I love with a glass mat with your lines is you can line it up, especially as you use a stamp. Sometimes they start to shift a little bit, and this really just helps make sure we're lined up as much as possible, like so. And then same thing, grab your ink spot, your stamp spot, and just barely give it enough pressure. Again, this is your card, so make it however you want. Find the joy in creating. I feel happy with what we've got on our stamp. Now I'm just making sure my little sentiment piece is lined up. And then placing that stamp down. Try to be very careful not to wobble back and forth, especially because of the words that are on here, and then pulling against it. And that came out very crisp. It says, "You make the world a better place." So this card you could use for any occasion. You could use the additional stamps and add a greeting on the inside of your card. There's thanks, I can always count on you, time to celebrate, happy birthday. So you could do happy birthday on the front if you wanted, and then you make the world a better place stamped on the inside. So I would stamp the happy birthday on our sentiment card, and then you make the world a better place on the inside of your card base. So just some ideas. So next, this says we're going to take our background piece and put 5 glue dots on the outside perimeter to adhere the card to the card base. So we're going to move our sentiment pieces we just stamped out of the way. So to apply the glue dots, I typically will just take them and apply them one at a time, like so. But I do have my U-Picket tool today because these little dots sometimes stick really well to the backing, stick really well, which is what you want till you want to pull them off. And this kit is in low stock, so if you are interested in it, I would go ahead and grab it now. So when I use the U-Picket tool, Picket tool, I just kind of go in at an angle and pull it up, and they come off very easily. Typically, I use a small waste basket to the side when I'm making and creating items. That way, all my trash is in one area and it's not all over the place. So today I'm going to just kind of brush it off to the side and call it good. So I'm going to bring our card base back and put down our background piece onto our card base, and they typically stick really well. I just like to make sure that we've got all the pressure on there. If you want, there's also bone folders that you can use to just make sure you've got all that good pressure down on your card. So we've got step 2 done. Next is step 3 with the globe pieces. There are 2 pieces for the globe. So we've got our globe we just stamped and these fun chrome globe pieces to adhere everything to. So this says we're going, on the back of our globe that we stamped, we're going to put 2 adhesive dots, glue dots, and then on the back of the globe, we're going to put 3 on the circle and then 1 on the base of that globe. So we will go ahead and get started. I'm pulling out my Picket tool again. And I typically will glue dot my piece that's going on top of whatever the base is going on the card to get it center. So actually, let's go ahead and do that. And then you just figure out how you want your world that you just stamped, how you want that to go on your globe, and then give it pressure where those glue dots are. Turning it over to add the 4 left glue dots for this set. 1 at the top, and then 1 on each of the sides closer to the bottom of the circle for the globe. And then we're going to take our last glue dot and put it on the bottom of that base of the globe. And the glue dot accidentally stuck to me. So we're going to go ahead and get that pressed down. I'm going to pull off our glue dot backings. And then we're going to grab our globe. Also, part of step 3 says to go ahead and put it down on your base. So it says to have it scooted more towards the left side of the background for the card base. I think I'm going to keep it somewhat in the center. And I also forgot 1 piece. So I'm going to grab that from our box real quick. So it's using these red wood like backgrounds with our sentiment piece, which is a lot of fun. It also says to use our foam glue dots or our foam adhesive, so I pulled those out. So our sentiment is going to get 2 glue dots, 1 on each side. So we'll go ahead and do that. Glue dots down, and then we'll put that off to the side. We're going to go ahead and turn over our wood varnished red looking piece of accent. And it says to put on 3 foam adhesives, 1 on the outside, 1 in the middle, and then 1 on the other outside. And then it's gonna have us put our sentiment just kind of off to the side on that other accent piece, kind of overlapping it. So you just kind of figure out how you want that to go on, if you want to use that, making sure your glue dots are still going to attach that extra piece. I'm going to pull off our glue dot backings and apply our sentiment to this wood background piece first. So I'm going to line up my two pieces on my glass mat. And I do like to have a little bit of angles and dimension and whatnot. So that is how I'm going to do mine. And then we're going to go ahead and attach it. It says to attach it about here, just above the base of the globe on the bottom. Again, using my Picket tool to pull off the adhesive piece backings off that foam. And these like to stick a little more. So sometimes you just have to figure out how to finesse those backings off. And then take your sentiment piece and place it on your card wherever you want. If you don't want your sentiment to go on how our directions say, you can place it wherever you want, because again, this is your piece of art. This is your card, because you are the creative. Last but not least, it says to use these little dimension or embellishments. It says to use 3. It has one on the bottom kind of angled under the sentiment, and then 2 on the left-hand side above the globe. So we're going to go ahead and get this open. And one of these has already shifted around. So I'm going to grab these 2 first. So we're going to place one down here. And it looks like the adhesive didn't fully come off. So, oh, these adhesives kind of stuck together. All right. Worst come to worst, you can use some liquid glue to help kind of reattach those, or a glue dot works really well also, that we've got out already. So we're just getting our final embellishment put on here. So something like that. Now, the thing I didn't do is I haven't folded our card base, because sometimes it's easier to go ahead and put our card together. But this is what the front of our card looks like. Flip it over. This is the inside of the card. You could leave it blank and just write a message. You could use more stamps and add more to the inside of the card. It is your card, so you get to do whatever you would like with that. But I think that's the cutest card. So thanks for joining us for this week's Create Live. My name is Jenny. If you are interested in this, send me a message or comment on this video, and I will get you the link so you can order this through Stampin' Up! To support my small business. Thanks for joining.